What's going on, people? Good evening. Welcome to United View and welcome to your transfer view. Nice little new look, new feel. That's what it is, whether it's 9 a.m. or 6 or 7 or in the evening. It doesn't matter when. You're going to be getting your up-to-date Manchester United transfer news. And this one is Timber Talks. Timber Talks, Fabrizio Romano and Jamie Jackson, I think, providing a little bit of an update earlier on today. Many outlets out there over in Holland, the Netherlands, giving more updates on Timber. And that is that the deal is at the early stages. Timber talks have started. It's at a very, very early stage. And I've been told some stuff on this as well I want to talk about and get into it. But the talks are very, very early. The talks are very not... Look, we want to hear advanced. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear deal to be finalised, deal to be advanced. But there's a lot of agents involved. There's a lot of noise coming out. And those are the people that are talking to the journalists who have the most to say. People like Fabrizio Romano, people like Ekrem Kona, and various other outlets. That's what we're being told. And earlier on today, Fabrizio Romano was basically saying that he sees it at the early stages. He doesn't see Timber as the type of combative player who would be trying to kind of force his way out, but also they value him at £43 million as well. He did touch on that. Him and Jackson obviously touched on the fact that he would cost £43 million. There were talks that we was on about sort of a 35 million bargain, which would have been a bargain. But even 43 million, that to me still fits in with whereabouts he should cost-ish for me. Not too much more than that. I don't really want to be going into 45, 50 plus for Timber. I know he's 19. I know he's hotly tipped, but we still need to go in line with a budget, and that's I'm going to relate that back to a story that Simon Stone was talking about outlaying Manchester United's restructure, where they see themselves with what they want to be able to do and how they want to do it. Now, whether we believe what's going on, whether we take it as face value as what's going on, that's one thing. But we do have some updates as to what Manchester United are trying to do, and they do have a budget, and they won't be accepting Man United tax. There is no Man United premium. We're going to work within our budgets. There's definitely a lot on that as well. And a little bit on Frankie de Jong as well. But let's get into it. Timber, the latest there is Fabrizio Romano is saying that the talks are at an early stage. Man United are concreting him now, and the first contacts have been made. It's in its early stages. And Erik ten Hag wants him as one of his first signings, and talks are at an initial stage. We haven't really had that confirmed yet in terms of talks being at initial stage. What we've had is the players, the club like him. What we've had is that, you know, they discussed him internally. He's on a list with Pau Torres, but obviously Ten Hag would like him to come, having just worked with the player. But we had nothing concrete on actually a move, an actual advance. Now, I did speak to someone earlier on, and they told me that this is all agent driven. They said that, you know, they're not going to be sucked into stuff like that at the club, and that this is agent driven, and anything that's out there is from agents talking to journalists, and it's coming from there. It's not really coming from the club, which you can take as truth. You know, that doesn't mean we're not in for Timber though, and that doesn't mean that Manchester United are not talking to him. What it can mean is that the information that's out there is not coming from the club, i.e., people at the club are keeping their cards close to their chest. They're not confirming or denying that they're in for Timber, but they're not coming and saying, yes, we're trying to get a deal done. We're at initial stages. We've got personal terms agreed. We've got this done. We've got that done. But we're not going to come out and say, no, we're not talking to him. That is a complete lie. They're not shutting it down. That's what I was told. And usually when that happens, and then you get a lot of the journalists talking about a player, usually when that happens, it means the truth somewhere in between. I don't think we'll be far off it to know that Jurrien Timber is high on Man United's list. And when someone like Fabrizio Romano, who's close to a lot of deals, and a lot of other journalists are starting to report that initial talks have started, I think that's very interesting. Another thing, and I think there's definitely something in it. So even though the club can kind of say things and say that, you know, it's agent driven and we're just keeping our cards close to our chest, they have to do that. They don't want custard pie on their face. I understand that. So this is, and to be fair, it probably is coming from agents though. You have to remember, people like Fabrizio Romano, people like the foreign-based journalists, they get their information not really directly from Manchester United. They do get it from agents. Agents from players do speak to journalists, and they drip feed information out there. And depending on how well sourced a journalist is and what kind of links and connects they got, they can extract that information or get a feel. They can get a general consensus of what's going on. And that's what's happening, I believe, with Jurien Timber at the minute. Another interesting thing for which Romano did bring our attention to is the fact that Ajax are actually preparing a short-term deal, a short-term extension for him should he stay, or to give him something else to think about as well, because they don't want to lose him. They know there is a price. They know that there is a love from Erik ten Hag. We know that. But Ajax aren't just throwing in the towel here. We always forget that as Manchester United fans. It was similar to when Erik ten Hag was, before he was announced as Manchester United manager, when we knew it was going that way, but we were like, when's it going to get announced? When is it? What's happening? You know, he wanted to hear from stuff. He wanted to get reassurances. But mainly, he had a title race. He was in a smack bang in the middle of a title race with Ajax. And we forget that here. When you speak to journalists abroad and when you speak to fans abroad, their general consensus is we haven't really heard too much about that because we're interested in this. This is what's going on here. And I think that is important. Ajax aren't just going to say, have our manager, which we've already taken, that's signed, sealed, delivered and done, and take one of our hottest prospects, you know, without a fight. I'm not saying it can't be done, because I do think this Timber deal is really picking up pace now. And I'm a lot more optimistic than I have been over the last couple of weeks. For me, I don't know whether you call it pessimistic or put it downer, but I'm very cautious about transfers. I never like to go full steam. One, because I don't have that sort of info. I don't have that those sort of links and connects. I don't have that sort of intel to say, I've heard of a really good cause that X is going to happen or Y is going to happen. I don't have that. I'm a fan like you guys. I report on the news. I give my opinion on the news and you guys can discuss it. So I think it's important not to do that if you don't have those kind of links. And two, I'm always cautious because we're Man United, man, and we're in a mess. You know what I mean? We are Manchester United, and we know we're going to be linked with every man and his dog this transfer window, and it's going to go on and on and on and on and on. So before I get fully invested into a transfer, I like to vet it. I like to vet it properly, and I think I'm at that stage. I'm definitely at that stage of Jurien Timber where I'm starting to believe. I'm not starting to believe. I'm very confident that this deal will get done. I will say that. You can never say never, and you can never say definitely, unless you've got it off authority from a real good person. But I think you can get a general consensus and say, you know what, this deal is on the horizon. There was pictures of Frankie de Jong and Jurien Timber turning up at the Dutch training session as well. A lot of people putting in comments, come on, hurry up and come to United, etc., etc. That's nothing to do with it. That's just something that I observe. But for me, I see this deal gathering pace. I do. It fits with what we're trying to do. The price looks like it's going to be right. 43 million, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind 43 million. That's not bad. I'm having that. I don't really want to go too much above that though. I want to know what you guys think. Should we be going 45 million plus for Jurien Timber? I know there's the fallback of if Ten Hag wants him, then he should get him. But should we be going into the 45 million plus? I'm not sure. 50 million plus? I don't know. 100% not more than 50 million. We can't be spending more than that. But, you know, into what Simon Stone was saying earlier on, he was saying in his article that Manchester United have set out their new strategy. They've set out what it is they want to be doing, and they've set out that Man United won't be held to ransom. You know, and this is some of the things he said from his article. He said, with a limited budget, the club are adamant. This is what BBC Sport has been told. With a limited budget, the club are adamant they will not overpay. And BBC Sport have been told there will not be a United premium. So that's a direct line from the club. There will not be a United premium. United premium meaning, okay, the player's worth 35 to 40 million, but because it's Man United, we're going to charge you 60. We're not doing that. And I agree. I agree. There's been some reshuffles in terms of, you know, John Murtough being in more power and more control and making things more transparent. But Richard Arnold is keen to empower those with the right skill set to make decisions. That's quote from Simon Stone. And I've been told as well from people there that is what they want to do. They want the best in class approach now. They want to be looking at situations where, you know, it's more streamlined and John Murtough is giving the power to the right people. Now what we're getting is Steve Brown, who's the head of the club recruitment operations. Everyone's going to report to him, and then they're going to be under John Murtough is going to be overseeing that. So look, alongside obviously Ten Hag. So they're trying to streamline it, and they've obviously taken Ralph out of the equation as well. So for me, they're trying to streamline the approach. Man United are trying to be more transparent with what they're doing. We'll see whether that comes to fruition. But Ten Hag's obviously going to have a massive say in signings, and the fact that Timber, the talks have begun. I think is positive. And if you think about it, there shouldn't really be much of a sticking point in this. Now talks have begun. I'm actually expecting this deal to start gathering serious pace. Don't like putting time limits on things, and I definitely can't give a specific time frame. But me just kind of giving a ballpark, I would say within the next 2 weeks, I think this deal could be near or close. Personally. That's me personally. Because if you think about it, I think the player would want to come and follow Erik ten Hag. He admires him. He's brought him onto the scene. He's believed in him, and he's got a good tune out of him at Ajax, right? That's down to Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag leaves, picks up the phone and says, Jurien, I want you to come with me. I don't think Jurien Timber is going to be able to... Yeah, I don't think he will turn down the chance to join not just Manchester United, but follow Erik ten Hag, a manager who he believes in and actually has put his early trust in him with his career and has launched his career. And if that same manager wants to take you to Manchester United for the rebuild, and, you know, yes, it's still one of the biggest clubs in the world and further your career, why would Timber be like, no? And I don't think Erik ten Hag would bring Timber there with any bad intentions, doing him dirty and not playing him and not making him an integral part of going forward, especially to part with the best part of, look, £43 million, which is what's been quoted. So from Timber's point of view, I don't see why that shouldn't be a quick fix. I don't think wages and things like that will be a problem. And from an Ajax point of view, obviously they're going to try and keep him, but them having a backup plan is natural. If he doesn't leave, or you have to try and convince him to stay at least, they're trying to work on keeping the player and give him increased terms in his short term. So he's got 2 years left on his contract during Timber right now. He's got 2 years left. But what Ajax are looking at saying, okay, well, what is that? You got 2 years left, but we'll offer you this now. We'll give you a 2-year extension now. This would have naturally come next year when you've got 1 year left. But in fact, we like you. We obviously rate you. We love you. We want you to stay. If you're having second thoughts, here's something to, get on your mind. This is something to get on your mind. We want to keep you. So here's a deal here. That's perfectly natural as well. But I still don't think that gets in the way of Manchester United getting what they want. And ultimately, that's Jurien Timber and Erik ten Hag wanting Jurien Timber as well. So I think this is going to pick up pace. I really do. I think we're getting there. And I also think that if you was to put a time frame on it, I think we're getting pretty close to that gathering pace and picking up a pace. But we must stress it is at the early stages. And that actually is a development. That talks are underway, because what we were getting before, like I said earlier, was just the fact that they want to talk to him. They like him. Do you know what I mean? No contact had been made or an initial approach had not been done yet. But now we're starting to get a little bit more of that in terms of saying, okay, well, you know what? We like him. Now let's make a move for him, really. But I do want you guys' thoughts on that, though. Let me know. The 43 million price tag. Is that too much? Would you go over that? I need to know what you're saying, because there's got to be a cut-off point. Do you know what I mean? So, it's what United want. It's what United want. I think it's what Timber wants, but there is a little bit of a battle there. We can't just assume that we're in this one-horse race in terms of Ajax are just going to just step back and say, go. Now's the time to prepare for that battle. Now's the time to get your teeth into the juice of this transfer. If you are into that little bit of excitement and entertainment factor, some people are the opposite. Some people are like, you know what? Till I see a player holding up the shirt like this, signed on a dotted line, confirmed on official club media with an interview, I don't get involved in transfers. But a lot of other people, it is a bit of entertainment. It is something exciting. It is the rebuild of Man United. And some people do take this in differently and follow it every step of the way, like we do here at United View. And if you are that type of fan who does that, I think this is the time when the excitement's going to happen. This is the time when you're going to see a bit of posturing. You know what I mean? You're seeing his parent club say, we want to keep him. Here's a new deal. You see Man United saying, here's what we have to offer. Plus, here's your old manager. Choice is yours. So let's see what happens. But I definitely think within the next week or two, I think we're going to get major movement on that. There's a lot of people being discussed at Manchester United. You've got the Kante situation. You've got the Jong situation, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. You've got the Pau Torres situation. Anthony's gone a little bit quiet, but you never know. You've got Neves in there. You've got Darwin Núñez. So those are the ones we're most linked to. But the Timber one has always been the one. at the top of that list, in my opinion. And it's always been the one that I think Manchester United will go after first. And it's always been the one that's probably the easiest to do. The Frankie de Jong one should be second easiest to do, but that's going to depend on the Barcelona situation. But with what Ten Hag has with Frankie de Jong, and the latest on that is there was reports claiming that within the next few days, Barcelona's situation is going to become a lot clearer. Their situation is going to become a lot clearer economically, financially, and they know a quick sale of Frankie de Jong will free up budget for them. They know that, and that again is going to hot up. And Eric Ten Hag is banging on to Frankie de Jong. He's banging on to him saying, listen, please get this done. He's on the phone to Frankie de Jong. And Frankie de Jong, according to reports, is now more open than he was to the move. One, like I said, because he probably knows there's uncertainty whether he can actually stay at Barcelona. And he's more willing to hear Eric Ten Hag out than he was initially. So that deal's bubbling on as well. So, look, for me, Timber, yes, that's going to happen. I think within the next 2 weeks. De Jong, we have to wait for that clarification on Barcelona's economic climate, and I've got some exciting stuff coming up about that. I can't wait for you guys to see that. We're going to dive into that. I want to dive into that a little bit more. And the Darwin Núñez thing keeps bubbling on. We covered it this morning, and there's a little bit more today saying that Manchester United may have their man, and he wants to come there. And there was even a report saying that Edison Cavani has spoke glowingly of the Uruguayan, obviously it's his compatriot, and said he can do a job for Man United. And I just thought, actually, no, I'm not reading too much into that, because he was horrendous here. He was literally horrendous this year, but it is his compatriot. But I wouldn't get too excited with the fact that he's co-signed him. That could be neither nor. I want to talk a little quickly about Wan-Bissaka as well, because AS Roma General Manager Thiago Pinto is reported as being interested in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Who would have thought that? There is a talk of a request of around 30 million euros. Roma would Jose Mourinho taking Aaron Wan-Bissaka? I mean, does Jose Mourinho rely on technically gifted footballers for his system? Not really. He likes a lot of robotic players. He likes a lot of players who can buy into what he's going to do. And he likes solid players. Could Aaron Wan-Bissaka fit into that in Italy? Different pace, different demands on the ball. But defensively, in one-on-one situations, he could be a bit of a warrior for him. That would be insane. I couldn't see Wan-Bissaka going abroad, though. And that's just my... I don't know. That's just my kind of own personal preference. He doesn't strike me as the character for doing that. But then again, someone could have said that about Tomori. Someone could have said that about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, even though it hasn't worked out for him there. Someone could have said that about him. Someone could have said that about Tammy Abraham. Do you know what I mean? So, there are young English cats out there doing their thing and have done really, really well. Tomori obviously doing excellently. Tammy Abraham, I'd pick of the bunch, is not so much Maitland-Niles because he struggled. But, London boy, to be fair, if Tammy Abraham picks up the phone and reassures Wan-Bissaka and says, listen, bro, get yourself out here. We'll see what even happens with Tammy Abraham. Was Tammy Abraham permanent? Or was he alone? I can't remember. I think he was alone. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think he was alone. But even if he wasn't, he's going to have glowing things to say about Jose Mourinho and Roma to Wan-Bissaka. So that's interesting to see how that one pans out. And a little bit on Pau Torres as well. He is still on Manchester United's list. They're still discussing. But again, it's nothing anywhere near as advanced as what the Timbers situation is, where talks have now began. So that's your latest Manchester United news. Smash a like on the video, peeps, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And we will see you all again very, very soon with another video. I'm out of here. Peace.